Did we get Rob back yet?
No,
You don't see him, eh? Okay.
we don't have, oh yeah, we just have quorum.
Well, there's only going to be what, 4 of us right now, unless somebody decides to join.
Well, Maureen's on her way, and I don't know about David.
Well, David's not coming.
Definitely not. Okay.
Can we wait 5 minutes for Rob and perhaps Maureen? Because Rob was here.
Yeah, we'll wait a couple of minutes here. See how it goes.
Thank you.
And we can get started with the preliminaries before that, I guess.
Some trustees are having technical difficulties, I gather. Is that Rob?
Maureen's is
Not yet.
being slow. Well, where's the late item stuff? I can't find it.
8.2, section 219,
No, no,
covenant
no,
for
I find
873
it, yeah.
Rivendell.
Should be near the top of your email. It was sent at 1:25.
Well, I've got a whole ton that were sent at 5 o'clock. I found it.
Hope, did you try Rob or not?
I haven't, but I will. He was here, so not sure what.
Well, we do have quorum, eh?
We do. I've messaged both of them, so
Okay.
the last meeting before we go back to in person, and of course,
I know, it's very exciting.
that's not the way.
Yeah.
And that's when the technical trouble begins.
Yes.
Well, that could well be too.
I've seen them both earlier today and they were both planning to come.
Yeah.
Well, Rob was already here.
They had Rob here for a while,
So
yeah.
he disappeared.
Maybe it's the Netflix effect again.
Yeah, maybe something. No response from either one of them, Hope.
Still nothing. So I'm
I'm thinking we get started.
okay.
Okay.
we can always come back if there's something important enough to review. Okay, so this will be, welcome everybody, and this will be the revised agenda for the regular council meeting of Monday, March 28th, 2022. In opening the council meeting, we gratefully acknowledge that we live and work in the traditional unceded territory of the Squamish Nation, whose people have been stewards of these lands, Naklala, Bowen Island, and the water surrounding Howe Sound at Catsum for millenniums. Approval of the agenda. Late items, Hope. I think we've got them, but go ahead.
Yep, there were 2 items sent around. The first were additional letters regarding agenda item 8.1, the phase 1 wastewater treatment plant upgrades.
Right.
And then there was an item 8.2, which is a section 219 covenant for property at 873 Rivendell.
Okay.
So Daniel, do you want to quickly just give a quick update on that? Because we're going to request that that be pulled from the agenda and not considered tonight.
Daniel?
Yeah, the covenant was prepared and ready by this afternoon, but the property owner is here, I think, to speak to you in the public comments, but is not able to have their creditor sign the priority agreement at this time. And so what we recommend is to not proceed with the covenant at this point and have some further meetings with our legal team and with the owners and try to find some wording that will work for the intent of the covenant. So council has the report there to review, but so we anticipate something similar coming back, but not able to proceed tonight.
Okay. Thank you, Daniel. And so that was at 8, was going to be that 8.2, which isn't going to happen now.
That's correct.
Okay, thanks, Hope. And okay, does anybody have anything they'd like to add to the agenda? Admissions, errors, anything like that? Sue Ellen, go ahead.
Yeah, I would just like to add a quick comment about BC timber sales and their public comment period about spraying herbicides.
All right, is that in an information item, or are you just going to talk?
No, I'm just going to mention it, and I can do that wherever you'd like.
Under new business, 11 point,
Okay, 11.6.
on the 0.6, and then 11.6 will become 11.7.
Okay, we'll do that then. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Me, Marion.
Oh, Maureen, you're there.
Hi, yeah, my
Good, welcome.
having technical glitches on this end. There's an item, the minutes and a recommendation from the Environment and Climate Action Committee on the agenda. And I didn't attend that meeting. And I don't see David here. So I'm wondering if we could defer to next meeting because he'll be able to discuss the substance of what the committee was proposing.
It's 10.1.
So that's 3.5. Should we just pull that then?
No, it's 10.1.
Oh,
And just to defer until David is with us.
okay. We will defer. Okay, very good. Anything else? All right, so the council approved the agenda and late items, if applicable, for the March 28th, 2022 regular council meeting as amended. I'll move that. Thank you, Sue Ellen. All in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you, Michael. And we'll move on to public comments, Hope.
We just have one this evening, Karis and Robert Clayton.
Okay, thank you. Robbie and Karis, hi.
Hi, hello, Mayor and Council. Thank you for the opportunity to bring forward my situation tonight.
Okay.
As Daniel mentioned, it sounds like it's being deferred, which is good in some ways and a little bit tough for us in some ways, as we are waiting on our building permit, either to move forward with septic or sewer at this stage. So I'm still going to tell you what I was going to before this got tabled. The covenant draft that was to be brought forward sorry, that was to be brought before you for approval this evening has been discussed at length between municipal staff and the property holders at Rivendell Heights. We had come to an agreement, but unfortunately, late this afternoon, we were emailed a last-minute change, which now includes the requirement for our lender to sign the covenant. We sent this to them straight away for review. They're unwilling to sign it as the municipality will not give a time frame for the work to be completed, nor to allow the covenant to expire should the sewer upgrade take an unreasonable amount of time for a builder to keep on schedule. Because we have a construction mortgage, we need to keep to a certain timelines in order to get our draws to pay our builder. This means that the covenant is unusable for anyone who has a mortgage. My husband and I are not the only property owners in this situation. As it stands, I have no option to proceed with my build other than installing a septic system, which I have been told by municipal staff can be rendered useless by forcing us to hook up to sewer at any time with no reimbursement for our expense. Please help us find a realistic solution for the unfair situation these property owners at Rivendell Heights have put in. We had active building permit applications underway before this whole mess was shared with us.
All right. Is that it, Karis? I guess it is.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, obviously, we're going to defer it from tonight and hopefully find a way through it. I can't see that it's impassable, and we'll be able to figure it out somehow. But and I understand your problems with the timeline on this, but we'll get it done as fast as we can. Any other comments for Karis? Okay. Okay, thank you, Karis. And we'll move on to the consent agenda. Does anybody have anything in the consent agenda that they'd like a little bit of edification on or something, or they're not quite sure on? I don't see too many hands there. Sue Ellen, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I would like to just briefly pull 3.4.
3.4, okay, yeah. Anybody else out there? I don't see anybody else. So the recommendation is the council approve the items as outlined in the March 28th, 2022 consent agenda, and that'll be as amended. I'll move that. Second. Thank you again, Sue Ellen, and all in favor. I've got just about everybody. Allison, thank you. That is passed. And at this point in time, we'll go to the items removed from the consent agenda, which would be 3.4, and that's back to you, Sue Ellen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's just a quick question. I know we've had a lot of discussion and we've approved the 5-year financial plan and that kind of thing. I'm wondering, I was in a meeting, a climate action leaders meeting on Friday, and I learned that the city of Powell River is looking at an electric truck to replace part of their fleet. That's part of a garbage fleet, I gather. But I'm wondering if we have any policy in place that anybody can think of offhand, or is it part of our climate action plan to explore options for electric vehicles when we're considering contracts, purchases like this?
Liam, do you mind taking that on?
Yeah, we don't. I'm not aware of any policy that states that we will endeavor to green our fleet or electrify the fleet, but it's an internal desire that Patrick and I have spoken about too. We do have that one little electric truck that was, I believe, made in Parksville, but it runs on golf cart batteries, and it's fairly limited in its capacity, range, and full functionality. And so, but I personally am quite interested in electrifying the fleet if possible. And so we are keeping our eyes out for utility style electric vehicles. There aren't a lot on the market. If you hear of things like this, please do send it our way. And
I will do. Thank you for the comment. I thought, I know we've adopted a climate action strategy, but I didn't think this was in it. And I was surprised to hear from City of Powell River that they had got a quote for a regular sort of garbage vehicle, but they did have a green fleet policy in place. So this councillor phoned the supplier and said, do you have that in electric? And they say, yes, we do. And we're having one come in next month. Do you want a quote? So I just want to make everybody aware that these possibilities are coming, and maybe I would welcome a green our fleet policy, or maybe I can talk to the climate action group about that. So just so the possibilities are explored. Thank you, that's all.
Okay, that's great, Sue Ellen. Thank you.
I'll be
Yeah,
happy
go
to
ahead.
move the motion
Thank you.
that the Council of Bowen Island Municipality authorizes up to $640,000 to be borrowed under Section 175 of the Community Charter from the Municipal Finance Authority for the purpose of fire truck replacement, and that the loan be repaid within 5 years.
Sorry, who is that?
That was Councillor Winan.
Councillor Winan just called.
Just coming in, okay.
And now
Hey,
he's
guys.
connecting, so.
Hey, Rob, welcome back.
I'll continue, I'll finish
Just
my
continue
motion,
that last sentence, Sue Ellen.
and that the loan be repaid within 5 years with no rights of renewal.
Okay, thank you. I'll second that. Any further comment on this? Okay. Maureen, you got your hand up? Is that from the
Yeah.
last time? Okay, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I do. Just that in the climate action strategy, there is a strategy identified to encourage and facilitate the transition to low and zero emission options. It doesn't specifically say to green the municipal fleet, but I know that at the time that the small truck, the mighty truck, e-truck, whatever it's called, there was discussion, and certainly at that time, it wasn't an option for fire trucks, because that was discussed at that time, but that's 4 years ago now.
Thank you. It's changing fast.
Yeah.
Certainly is. Okay, thank you, Sue Ellen and Maureen. And if nobody else, I'll ask a question. All in favor? Aye. Okay, that's good. That's around. Thank you. And we're going to move delegations. Hope? No?
Nope.
Thank you. And we'll move on business rising from the minutes. We have none, and we'll move into bylaws. Council procedure bylaw number 529, 2020, amendment bylaw number 566, 2022. Hope Dallas, corporate officer. Hope, it's all yours.
Thank you for that introduction. And good evening, Council. Before you tonight, there's just a brief report that outlines the suggested amendments to the Council procedure bylaw that were brought forward at the February 14th meeting. And in light of the direction at the March 14th meeting to return to in-person meetings, it's good timing that this is coming along. So the amendments to the bylaw include definitions for electronic meetings, and as well as just how those are conducted, and just referring to the legislation, which is the community charter, and how we'll provide notice, as well as some parameters around electronic participation at hybrid meetings or in-person meetings. I did receive some comments from Councillor Morse about the 10 times per meeting, or sorry, 10 times per calendar year attendance. So if council wishes to amend the bylaw to remove that, it would kind of open it up to any number of times council can. It doesn't remove that restriction for council to attend electronically as many times as needed. So if council wishes to consider that, I can make that amendment. Otherwise, the bylaw is included in the staff report, and I'm seeking first, second, and third reading tonight.
All right, Allison.
You're muted. Sorry.
Sorry, I haven't found all my pieces of paper. We got to that part of the agenda too soon. My concern with the 10 meetings, that's the one you're talking about, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I just saw Hope's email because we've been otherwise tied up all afternoon. My concern is if we got near the end of the year, say, and somebody, had missed 8 meetings and then all of a sudden finds themselves ill and unable to attend for the next 3 meetings, they've all of a sudden violated, they can't attend electronically. So they just can't attend, period. If
I
they
think
can't
that's-
physically get there. Now, is there a clause somewhere in here, which I'm now looking for, that says unless council waives that requirement?
It says at the end of that sentence, without the approval of council.
Is that in the actual amendment?
Yep.
Did I
It
miss
says a
that?
member will not exercise the option to participate electronically at an in-person meeting more than 10 times per year without the approval of council.
Okay, I apologize then, I missed that.
It's okay.
Now, my other question had to do with the definition of in-person meeting versus hybrid meeting.
Yeah, I like your suggestion of including a definition of in-person meeting. And that could read an in-person meeting means a meeting where all members participate in person,
Well, I don't know whether it should be
just for
all-
clarity.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know whether a hybrid meeting needs to be defined.
Well, I think I disagree. I think it does need to be defined.
Can't hurt being in there.
Where
Yeah.
it means a meeting where some members attend in person and some members attend electronically. I think that all 3 definitions would provide that clarity because they are referenced.
So if you're going to reference a hybrid meeting and talking about people attending an in-person meeting, that in-person needs to be defined.
I agree.
So how do we get that into here with the third
So
reading?
I would suggest an amendment to include a definition for in-person meeting. That means a meeting where all members participate in person.
But you're going
I
to
move that.
allow some members to participate
And a
electronically.
hybrid meeting means a meeting where some members are attending in person and some members are attending electronically. I guess that is contradictory.
Yeah.
An in-person means a meeting where members participate in person, not all members, but
Yeah.
members.
Maureen, does that make sense to you?
Running through my brain, college definition, all of those terms. Do it again, Hope.
In-person meeting means a meeting where some members participate in person. And a
Some or
hybrid,
all?
some or all.
Some or all, yeah, I think would be a good thing.
And a hybrid meeting means a meeting where some members are attending in person and some members are attending electronically.
So I was wondering why we needed a hybrid meeting definition.
I think we just leave it in there. It doesn't hurt anything to have it in there. Who knows?
Sue Ellen's got her hand up.
I think Rob's was first and then Sue Ellen. Rob?
Okay, yeah, no, just so Hope, I'm really happy with this report. I'm glad we're moving forward with this. And it'll be good to get back in person. I know last time I said I was sort of not happy with having the meetings on Zoom, and that's nothing to do with staff because I've been blown away by how you guys have managed to keep the show going like this. So just hats off to you, and I hope this doesn't put too much on your plate moving forward, going back to the hybrid meetings. But I just really appreciate sort of going back in, but also the way that staff were able to nimbly sort of switch and get everything sort of together. So great to see the meetings coming back, and good luck with making that work smoothly. Because I remember our first attempt at a hybrid meeting.
Yeah. It worked so good.
We have
Well.
much better technology to support doing this now for sure.
I remember Lee with his headphones. I'm like, I'm double hearing everything.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, we've
So
come a long
thanks.
way.
Yeah, we've come a long way. Thanks.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you for those comments, Rob. Sue Ellen?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I have been experiencing in-person meetings, which are all members are expected to be there in person, and perhaps our maybe it's a workshop where we
Yes.
think about how we're going, what priorities for the next year and island plan. But anyway, I can envision other opportunities where we might want to have an all in-person meeting where the doodle polls happen and everybody who's available to actually be there that day. And I wouldn't want to rule those out. However, I think hybrid meetings and electronic meetings are both defined here, and I'd be fine with this the way it is. I don't really anticipate the need for all in-person meetings very often. And if we did that, we could perhaps agree to waive the bylaw or something. It's just, we're still in a pandemic. I don't know that we need a definition. I think we need to be moving into the future with technology. So I'm fine with this bylaw the way it is. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sue Ellen. And Allison?
Well, and the problem I've got is you've defined a hybrid meeting as a in-person meeting that some attend electronically. So you've defined something with something that isn't defined. So-
Sorry, it says a meeting. It doesn't say a hybrid, an in-person meeting. Are you looking at page 1 of 3, the definitions in 2.21?
I'm looking where. Okay, where is it? Don't have my. If you look, yeah, wherever the definitions are. Hybrid meeting means a meeting where some user attends, some use. It's the electronic. It's the electronic participation definition. Means electronic participation of one or more members attending an in-person meeting. So maybe
That's electronic participation, but right above it is electronic meeting. I don't see the problem.
But you're talking about electronic participation means the electronic participation of one or more members attending an in-person meeting. So I think it should, maybe that just needs to take out the word in person and just say attending a meeting.
Okay.
Maybe that solves it.
Yes, you could. I don't see the issue with it here. I think we're,
Well, sorry, as I've said before, I've written provincial and federal and income tax legislation, and I've made money on the fact that the words weren't right in the loopholes, so that's why I fixate on the words being right. So
I'm fine with that change if council
yeah,
is.
no,
That's okay.
yeah,
It's okay
let's do
with
that.
me. I'd be interested to hear if anybody else has a problem with it. Maureen's got her hand up.
Maureen?
Two points. One is a point and the other is a question. I'm wondering, Hope, if you're defining these terms, if it needs to say where all council members participate electronically, or is it clear from the original that?
It's clear from the original that it captures council and committees. So that's why it's generalized.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
So member means the mayor, council, councillor, or committee member.
members defined.
Member is defined.
Okay, thank you. That addresses my concern.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Hope, for your work on this.
Thanks. I'm excited to see all of you in person at one time.
You may not.
Might be pretty scary, yeah.
So just want
Anyway.
to circle back that there were 2 amendments, one to electronic participation definition,
Yes,
and one adding a definition for in-person meeting.
yes.
I don't think you need to add do you need to add a definition for in-person meetings since you're not defining them? That's the only place where it appears, isn't it? In the definition of electronic participation?
No, it's referenced in
It's a
under section 9
Okay,
a few times. So I think it is useful.
yeah, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, we're getting pretty used to that term. I don't know if it has to be defined, but anyway, that sounds good. And the recommendation is that bylaw number 566, 2022, cited as Bowen Island Municipality Council Procedure bylaw number 529, 2020, amendment bylaw number 566, 2022, be read a first, second, and third time.
As amended.
As amended, correct. Thank you. I'll move that. Sue Ellen is in number 2. And further conversation on this? No. Okay. I'll ask a question. All in favor? Aye. All right. Thank you. That's great.
Thank you.
I did want to raise one follow-up because of the limiting it to 3 people. we might want to review that sometime down the road, just in case it causes problems.
Yeah, and especially if it does cause a problem, then we definitely have to amend it. I don't know why it would, but you know, and if there's more than 3 people, is it just the first people out?
Well, that's what it says.
Is that what it says?
Yeah, you first in, first out.
Oh yeah, there it is, order based. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, sorry. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, read the fine print, eh?
We can
All right.
revisit it if needed.
Yeah, okay, so we'll move on to 7.2, which is the proposed amendment to the Snug Cove Sewer Specified Area and Local Government Committee Purpose and Establishment Bylaw number 10, 2000. Kristen Watson, Chief Financial Officer. Thanks, Kristen.
Thank
It's
you,
all
Mayor.
yours. Yeah.
Great. So I'd like to bring forward a proposed revision to this bylaw tonight
Okay.
to address, I think, what appears to be a possible misalignment with the resolution that was passed on January 31st with the language that is included in that Snug Cove Sewer Local Management Committee Establishment Bylaw. So under the bylaw, the wording identifies that the funds for the service should be collected solely from the properties included in the area. And I feel that that wording in the bylaw does not support council's motion to use a combination of accumulated operating surplus and capital renewal and replacement funds to pay for the upcoming wastewater treatment plant upgrade. And to
Right.
remedy the situation, I'm recommending the deletion of the word solely and the addition of a clause that will permit council to collect from property owners that reside outside of the Snug Cove Sewer District. I think one has to consider the optics that this creates. I think there's perhaps some concern that by inserting enabling language into that bylaw that council would be inclined to fund wastewater treatment plant expenses on an ongoing basis. So I thought at the same time, it was really important that we find something to strengthen the accountability process for those expenditures. So through the addition of the second clause, which is the requirement for council to pass a motion that declares a project to be of island-wide significance in advance of any approval of any expenditure of municipal general revenue funds, then I think that addresses that concern. I think that this approach will achieve 2 goals. One would be to enable the current year's wastewater treatment plant funding plan to proceed by correctly aligning the use of general revenue with the language in the bylaw. And secondly, I think it provides a very strong and enduring accountability framework. And as part of my work plan for the coming months, I will be working together with the Finance Advisory Committee and engaging them and their assistance on helping to build that framework and work on developing policies that will support financial accountability and transparency going forward. And as part of that, it's my hope to empower council with these tools that can be used to ensure that you have all of the pieces of the puzzle that you need to support informed financial decision-making going forward. So I'd like to do this properly. I'd like to respect the time commitment that's put in by the volunteers of the Snug Cove Sewer Committee and of the Finance Advisory Committee. And I'd like to include this as an agenda item for discussion with those 2 committees before it comes back to council for a decision. So the recommendation that I put before you tonight is to send this proposed bylaw amendment to those 2 committees. And I would very much appreciate council's support by passing this resolution tonight.
Okay. So what is the actual new resolution? Have you got it there? The new recommendation?
Not a new recommendation, it's just.
It's the same one on page 1 of 3.
Yeah. Okay. And Sue Ellen.
Did you want me to read it?
Well,
Yeah,
no,
we do.
we'll see from where it is there.
Please.
Yeah, that council direct staff to discuss the proposed bylaw amendments with the Snug Cove Sewer Local Management Committee and Finance Advisory Committee and to report back to council at a future meeting.
Oh, okay, that's, I see what's going on now.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for that. And Sue Ellen?
Thank you. I just have a few comments. I'm in support of this recommendation. I really think that now that we're 21 years as a municipality, our infrastructure hens are coming home to roost. And we need to be clear that we want to continue with the fairness across the island, that people pay within their district for the services they're getting. And I welcome this, the added transparency of it as we move from council to council, because as we get further from the people who remember how it all started out, I think it will be, and as staff changes and councillors change, I think it's important to leave the continuity here in the bylaw. So that's partly why. So development pays for development, and the people that benefit from it benefit. And I'm concerned with setting a precedent for all of the other services that we provide in the different service areas around the island. And so I welcome this. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Sue Ellen. Maureen?
I'll also be supporting the recommendation, Kristen, and Sue Ellen made many of the points that I would have. So that's it.
Okay, thank you. Rob?
Yeah, not to just jump on everybody, but yeah, I agree with both Maureen and Sue Ellen. And yeah, I'm still very uneasy about going outside of the sewer district right now to the general taxpayer. So I would like to see whatever work we can do to really get this right, especially, the comments around next council, because this is a project that's going to span at least one or two councils. And I can see the continuity being lost. We were at the sewer plant today, and it was interesting listening to Alice and some of the history of the projects going back that I don't know about, right? And it makes me a bit uneasy. And so I appreciate the extra work being done, and also the consultation was, especially with both those financial advisory committee and the district down there, to make sure we get this right and to make sure everybody's voice is heard. So I'll be supporting this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rob. Michael?
Gary, this is a very sound piece of administration. Thank you very much, Kristen, for doing this. And I suggest we move ahead and support Kristen in this motion and get it passed.
Okay, thank you. And Allison?
I'm just a little confused with people saying they're supporting the motion. So are they assuming that we are going to go ahead with removing the word solely and setting up the recommendation about being able to declare things as island-wide significance? And in which case, or is that, and how to do it? Is that what they're expecting the finance committee to come back with? Is how are you going to do this? What's the policy going to be for declaring something of island-wide significance? Or are people saying we want the finance committee and the Snug Cove Sewer Committee to actually look at, should the word solely be removed? And should the, that's the part that I'm just a little bit confused about with what everybody's been saying. And I certainly have no problem with referring the whole issue to the finance committee and the Snug Cove Sewer Committee, but I'm not totally sure if they say to me as council liaison to, to the sewer committee, well, what is council exactly wanting us to look at? Maybe I've misunderstood Kristen's report, but is it going back to, should the word solely be removed? And if it were to be removed, how would what does it imply? And should these words be added? And if they were to be added, what would the policy be? There's a big difference between saying, how do you add those words or saying, if, should they be?
Kristen, can you respond to that?
My goal, to be clear, is to bring the proposed bylaw amendment to those two committees to get input and feedback and hear what they have to say about it. I'm not asking them to do any work on it. I think we can do the work as staff ourselves and do the amended bylaw and bring that back to council. I just like the opportunity to consult and hear other opinions.
And they might come back and say to you, we don't think you should do it. You're quite happy to hear that opinion.
Yeah. Okay, Sue Ellen, and then we'll try to wrap this up.
Sure. I just want to point out that the draft bylaw is here attached to the report so that it'll be clear to the committee what they're being asked to do. The two changes are described there in the draft bylaw. And I'd like to move the motion that council direct staff to direct the proposed bylaw amendments with the Snug Cove Sewer Local Management Committee and the Finance Advisory Committee and report back to a future council meeting.
I'll second that.
Can I insert the words after amendments contained in the draft bylaw number 567/2022? It's not referenced, so
I think that would be a friendly amendment. I'd certainly would have put that in if it was there.
thank you.
Going, which bylaw? Yes.
Thanks.
So you just want the bylaw number in there? Hope, is that what you're saying?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right, and that should be a friendly amendment. Everybody's happy with that? Okay, and sorry, did we get a second on that?
We did.
Thank you. So any further discussion on this? I'll ask the question. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Oh,
Okay, so we're going to move on to staff reports. 8.1. Phase 1 WWTP upgrade cost attribution to specified area. And Kristen Watson, Chief Financial Officer. Back to you, Kristen.
Thank you again, Mayor Ander. So as a result of the decision that was made in January to fund the wastewater treatment plant upgrades using the combination of accumulated operating surplus and capital renewal and replacement funds, I was tasked by council to go and look at the costs of the project and devise a calculation and attribution strategy as a means to apportion some of the costs directly to the property owners in the local service area. So using the cost of the upgrade that was assigned to specific projects from the Director of Engineering's report from earlier this year, I reviewed each of the island plans from 2015 through 2021, and I used that as guidance to identify those projects that were directly linked to council's strategic priorities. Of the projects that can be accommodated within this phase 1 upgrade, there is a total of $921,323 that one can directly link to council's strategic priorities. And these include Area 1, Lot 2, which is the new rental housing building at a cost of $629,765. The Foxglove lots, which were part of the Snug Cove House rezoning and subdivision at a cost of $233,246. The new fire hall at a cost of $23,325, and the cost to connect the not the cost to connect, but the capacity charge that would one could attribute to the usage of the library at a cost of $34,987. So in total, these projects represent about 56.2% of the total $1.6 million cost of the upgrade. And as those projects were approved by council as a means to advance the strategic priorities, council could consider sharing the costs of these projects island-wide. So that would leave a remaining $718,677 that would be assumed directly by the property owners within the boundary of Snug Cove Sewer. So this decision, it must be considered within the context of the significant capital projects that are planned in many of the other local service areas. There's projects going on planned for Eagle Cliff and Tunstall Bay and Blue Water. Cove Bay just completed a significant capital project. And in none of these cases has any funding been assumed from outside of the local service area. Bowen Island has always funded all of its local service areas on a self-funded principle, and the use of general municipal revenue is only happening in the sewer. I've proposed a couple of different collection strategies. One of them is a collection over a period of 10 years and another over a period of 7 years. And both strategies combine the use of parcel taxes and user fees. Under the 7-year proposal that I put forward, users would pay a flat fee of about $664 per year. And there's an additional $25,667 to be collected through the user rates. And I put forward this concept of collecting through a combination approach of parcel taxes and user rates, because I think it strikes a balance, ensuring that those who use more pay more, but it also provides an opportunity to defer a portion of the amount through the property tax deferral program if the property owner is eligible. Additionally, under the parcel tax legislation, there is an opportunity for council to exempt properties that are not connected. So thereby they can ensure that those owners who are unable to connect at this time can be exempted until such time that they do hook up. Looking at the 10-year proposal, users would see a parcel tax of about $463 and additional user rates of $17,290. And Councillor Nicholson, you had asked for some information on what sewer users pay. And I reviewed the last year of billings, and I've done those cost calculations and included them in this package, in this information package. The costs they're extremely variable. They're based on water meter consumption, and there's a lot of seasonality to those costs. So during the winter and spring months, the average residential bill was about $266, and that covers 4 months. During the summer, again, it covers a 4-month period. The average residential bill was significantly higher at about $492. And then during the fall and winter, it tapers off again. An average bill was about $368. They're sent out 3 times per year. So that means that the total average bill for a residential customer is approximately $1,126 per year. And that's about $94 monthly. When we're looking at the commercial properties, it's really difficult to come up with a commercial average bill because there's so much variability between each of the commercial clients that it wouldn't really be meaningful. But what is very consistent, though, across all 3 of the billings was the percentage of billings that were charged to the commercial users. They consistently paid between 43 and 44% of all of the user fees. We are under a very compressed timeline to complete the budget in time for the May 15th statutory deadline. So in order to include a parcel tax in this year's budget, there's a process that must be followed, and that includes preparing the parcel tax roll, notifying property owners in writing, convening a parcel tax review panel, and in order for all of those things to line up in time for that deadline, we would need clear direction to proceed from this meeting. So I'm happy to take your questions in regards to the proposal.
All right, thank you, Kristen. Great, great report there. So questions, Allison?
Kristen, the page with the numbers on it, oh darn it, what's the chart on page 2? Where did those numbers come from? I went through previous reports from Patrick and I couldn't find numbers that seemed to tie in. So how did
the Director of Engineering's numbers?
Well, I don't know. It says shared wastewater treatment project cost, 629, 765 for area 1. So where did that number come from?
That is in a report that he presented. It's, shoot, I don't have the date of it.
Okay, because I was looking for I found reports with numbers in them, but none of them actually tied in. And then I guess my next question related to those numbers is Village by the Cove only the residential lots, doesn't include Snug Cove House?
Yes, that's my understanding. That's what his.
All right.
charge said.
And my second two questions, and all these properties are in the sewer district. So they're all going to be paying parcel taxes and user fees that are going to have the other 718,000 in them, correct?
Yep.
So, so why not just let everybody pay the whole thing? And if we want to benefit, we're already going to be paying for the fire hall and the library, so pick it up that way. And if we wanted to benefit Village by the Cove or Area 1, those are private lots. And I don't think, that, when we exempted the Snug Cove House from the, paid the connection fee for the late and the latecomers, the 400,000 that we paid for running the sewer line down the road. That was because we wanted to get the sewer in there. And so I'm not sure why we should, I don't agree with any of this is what I'm saying. And we're going to be paying our fair share for our two buildings through the property tax, the user fees and the parcel taxes. So.
Okay. Anybody have a comment on that?
Just could you clarify, what do you mean you don't agree with any of this?
Well, I was going to say if Village by the Cove included Snug Cove House and we wanted to benefit them, then we could give them a grant to cover off their property taxes, their parcel tax, and help them out that way. But it doesn't include, and I don't see why we should be. We're doing all this work now, so these Village by the Cove lots can actually hook up. I mean, we did have an agreement with Area 1 of Lot 2 that they would, be provided with a fully serviced lot. So we may have to pick up, so I don't know how that agreement falls into the whole thing. Anyhow, I'd have no problem going ahead with the parcel tax when setting up the parcel tax system. But I'm not in support of any of the recommendations as they're written.
Okay. Liam, you had a comment on there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just, Area 1, Lot 2, the purchase finalized just as I came on to the municipality. It was like one of the very first things that occurred, and it was very clear to me at that point in time that council had waived any fees or charges that would be applied for capacity. There was no entertaining any additional fees or charges that would be applied against that property. And then as we dug deeper into the sewer issues, the same came to light about Village by the Cove too. So those are two prior decisions that were made, and it's been pretty clear to staff from council that those were not going to be charged.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, are you saying that we should take those out of the equation?
No,
Okay.
no,
Conversely,
just
yeah.
Responding to Councillor Morris's comments.
Yeah, I think that the building is going to be in the Cove, and we concentrate the building on the Cove, but by concentrating the building on the Cove, we also have to take responsibility for some of the proposals and some of the work that's being done there. I don't see a big problem with it. Sue Ellen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm in support of this proposal. I had to think back and look at my notes because Councillor Morris is correct. Those are private lots. However, they are private lots to enable us to provide rental housing island-wide. And that was the only way we could do it without building them ourselves as municipality. How could we do that? So this is to benefit islanders island-wide who might be in need of rental housing at some points in their lives, or we were thinking about workers. Anyway, lots of good reasons. And I remember that fully serviced lots is what was in the purchase agreement. That's what I remember. And if I'm wrong about that, please correct me. Village by the Cove. Yeah, these are private lots too. I thought about this. However, these were private lots that were sold by the charity. Yep. The charity that was trying to bring housing, supportive housing for seniors. And which we don't have anywhere else on Bowen. And we were trying to support the charity that's supported within lots of our different plans and things. And that's to help all those good people who've been working so hard as volunteers for over 20 years. I remember making a donation back like 20 years ago, when a small donation, because we didn't even own a vehicle at that time, but it was so important to the island. And so many people have made donations and contributed their volunteer hours and fundraising abilities, and gone above and beyond to try and find this way to become a one-time developer in order to achieve that really commendable goal of senior supportive housing. So I support that too. As an island-wide thing, there are people island-wide who may need that in order to stay in our community. And then the fire hall and the library, those ones make total sense to me. And thank you for the figures. I support those too, and I'm in support. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Sue Ellen. And that's a good point that, you know, Snug Cove House would not be going ahead if it wasn't for those lots being sold at Foxglove. So it was part and parcel of the same deal. And this is what I'm talking about, is a building in the Cove and that sort of thing, that we, you know, we support the infrastructure that's going in there, and this is part and parcel of it. Rob?
Yeah, just a couple of comments. I think just moving forward, I think we all recognize that we're going to have to keep a lot closer eye on waiving these fees in the future. And I think a lot of this is the history is that we thought we had lots of capacity and we've hit a wall, and now we've got to find the money to make sure we have that future capacity. And very challenging situation. I don't think it's ideal, and I think it's something like, this is my first term, but like the history going back, it goes back 20 years, I think it's a big lesson moving forward. The splitting up seems sensible to me. I mean, those decisions haven't been made already, so they're off and running. And I was wondering, Kristen, how you were going to divide it up, and it seems like a reasonable way to do it. I just want to get a bit more of a clear picture on the cost per household. So right now, the average person roughly is paying $11.26, correct? Right. So after paying back, let's say we picked a 7-year program, how much roughly is a person's total sewage cost going to go up? Like how much money are they going to pay per year moving forward to pay that off?
So on the 7-year proposal, the annual parcel tax is $664, and the
So that would be, yeah.
the rate increase attributable to the residential customers would be $11,293, which would be about a 10% increase to their sewer rates. So an average annual increase, it's on page 66 of your agenda. Yeah. In the middle section there, it says the average annual increase to a residential user rate would be $117 to their user rate and $664 annual parcel tax. That would be the typical impact to a residential customer.
Right.
Okay. That will cover off. So the 664 covers off the 11 to. Is that correct?
The 664 would be a new tax on their tax notice.
Yeah.
The
Average
1126 is a user rate, and they could expect, if they're on the average of residential customers.
Yeah.
Average is the mid rate, right? Some are lower, some are higher. The average would increase $117 per year.
Okay. That's a good number. Thank you, Kristen. Rob, is that it?
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, I'm gonna go to Maureen and then back to Allison. Maureen?
I'm gonna hold off for now.
Okay, Allison?
So I'm just wondering why the 7 years versus the 10, that's my first question. Because it's about a $200 a year difference if I'm reading it in the parcel tax alone,
Mhm.
for the parcel tax. So, and presumably, and a drop of maybe $30 in the user fees. So why not the 10 years, which gives people, you know,
Well, it's less a year, but probably more in the long run. Go ahead.
yeah, but if people are looking at, you know,
Yeah, disposable income.
yeah, then you could, I mean, why, if there'd be an
Well-
option, parcel tax, pay it all up front, but people rarely do that, because if they sell, then the person who buys takes it over. They don't get any benefit for having paid it off early with their selling price.
Yeah, well, if you saw the report that came forward in the consent agenda, we're looking at preserving our reserve fund balances right now, to be honest. And I think the sooner that the money gets repaid into our reserve funds, the better financial position the municipality will be in. There's no provision for any interest charges on any of this money. It's all just original cost dollars. We're not making a provision for interest. And I do feel that the sooner it's repaid into the municipalities' reserve funds, and it's would go back into accumulated surplus. But the sooner that gets put back, the better.
All right, thank you, Kristen.
So following up on that, then the third motion needs to have repaid to the general fund unappropriated surplus, not just money in the general fund that we can go spend.
Oh, yeah, I don't understand.
Well, you just said it be repaid to the general fund. What does that mean?
To the appropriated surplus.
Well, then I think it has to say to appropriated surplus, because if it gets
Oh, okay.
repaid to the, just paid to the general fund, then somebody's going to say, well, let's use that money for the next whatever.
Fair enough.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then I still don't know why are we putting the fire hall and the library in there, because we're going to pay parcel taxes and user rates for those anyhow going forward. So why not just pay it through the annually, as rather than a big hit to our general expense revenues right now? And is this going to be treated as a borrowing from the general fund?
No,
The 718?
no.
So,
No, under the legislation, you can loan it or you can spend it on an eligible capital project. So we
that's another
can't
question.
loan it. We
Yeah.
can't loan it, Councillor Morris, because the sewer fund is not a statutory reserve. So we can't loan from a statutory reserve to a non-statutory reserve. So what we are doing from the capital renewal and replacement fund is spending that money on an eligible capital expenditure project that is a expense that meets the definition of an eligible expenditure according to the capital renewal and replacement reserves establishment bylaw.
Well, that's my other question. I don't think it fits within the definition of the capital replacement or renewal fund. So,
Okay.
And I don't understand why the sewer statutory reserve fund, because this money hasn't been spent yet, can't borrow from the general reserve fund.
The sewer doesn't have a statutory reserve fund.
Yes, they don't they have a statutory reserve fund? I thought
No.
they did.
No.
There may not be any money in it, but I thought they had one.
They don't.
They don't.
It's just
Can we
a,
set one up?
it's just a non-stat reserve.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Allison, I'm going to go to Michael.
Thank you, Mayor. I think what people are looking for us to do tonight is to establish the principles of which this quite complicated arrangement can be resolved. And looking at the recommendation, what I see and what I support is that Kristen has divided up between project costs and directly attributable cost to the area. And she's suggesting a 25 and 75% split, and we've got the backup figures here as part of her report. Mayor, am I correct by saying that if we approve the recommendation tonight, then we can then proceed along these lines? Am I correct on that?
I would say so. Liam, what would your thoughts be on that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because I would be very pleased to read the recommendation, because I think an enormous amount of work and good judgment has been exercised, and perhaps to establish the principles for everyone's benefits. We could perhaps, with sort of general approval here, I could read the recommendation, and then maybe someone will be prepared to second it.
All right, thank you. Go ahead, Michael.
Whereas council has directed staff to proceed with a wastewater treatment plant capital project estimated to cost $1,640,000 to be funded by general municipal revenues. And whereas staff have recommended that $718,677 of project costs be attributed directly to the Snug Cove sewer specified area. Therefore, be it resolved that council directs $718,677 be repaid to the general fund over a period of 7 years by property owners within the specified area through a combination of a 25 user rates and a 75% parcel tax. Maybe I could ask someone to second that.
Thanks, Michael. And I got Sue Ellen as a second. Did we not say that we wanted to put into appropriated reserve in there? Or we
Unappropriated reserve.
Unappropriated reserve, yeah.
Surplus, sorry, unappropriated surplus.
Surplus?
Yes.
And you're okay with that, Kristen? Or no?
Can I know where that
The correct,
exactly go and what the words would exactly be? Thank you. Please go ahead, Kristen.
Yep, the correct term is accumulated operating surplus.
And where would that go? Repaid to the
The accumulated operating surplus. And that is
instead of the
that
general
is
fund.
the municipal general operating surplus.
Thank you. That's great for a friendly amendment there. That's just in the, so now it reads the 718,677 be repaid to the attributed operating surplus.
Unappropriated operating.
Accumulated operating surplus is what I heard.
surplus.
Is that the term
Thank
that's
you.
in the financial?
I'm
statement?
having a little trouble hearing. Thank you very much.
Yes, well,
I just
if we
wanted to be
can
clear.
come to some consensus, I'm quite happy to accept that as a friendly amendment.
Okay, so it's the accumulated appropriated surplus? That would have ended up at? Or what's the final
Accumulated operating surplus.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
it. You got it.
Now we got it. And is there any further conversation on this?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, go ahead, Allison. I see Maureen there too.
I'll let Maureen go first.
Maureen?
And I was just wanting to confirm that we had agreed on the 7-year rather than the 10-year proposal, because the recommendation says 7. I wasn't certain that we had agreed on that.
That's correct. That's how it was. The recommendation was read at 7 years.
So do we agree on that?
I believe that will come out in the vote if people don't agree with it. But yes, I think that was a consensus of opinion.
Yeah, that's what I read out anyway.
Yeah.
Kristen's argument for that is that the sooner the
It's paid the
funds
better.
are brought together again, the better.
Okay, Allison, let's wrap this up and then we'll.
Well, I'm just in a quandary and I'm going to have to explain my vote. I can't support that it's 718,667. So I don't know whether I'm voting yes or no, because I certainly want the money to go into the unappropriated surplus, but I think it should be a bigger number.
Okay, well, we'll find out because I'll ask the question. All in favor? Aye. And Rob, you're in. Okay, thank you. Opposed?
Okay, I'll go for it.
Okay, you're in. Okay, thank
Reluctantly.
you. That's
Under duress.
unanimous. Thank you, Allison, and we'll move on. That's great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that's it's going to work out really well.
Thank you,
And
Kristen.
sorry, Maureen?
A big thank you to Kristen. For
Yes, absolutely,
Thank
absolutely.
you.
Thank you for guiding us through that. Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
And so we're going to move on to correspondence, and we have correspondence from Graham Ritchie. Read the Snug Cove House Septic dated March 12th, 2022. Who's going to take that on? I don't see anybody assigned to it here. Or do we just? So, has everybody read this letter?
Yeah.
Okay. And what's the general feeling here in light of the recommendation that's there?
So we had a letter from some of the owners of Fox Club.
Yes.
This is only for Snug Cove House?
I personally think that if you were going to have to put a pump station down at the bottom and pump it up into a septic field, we're better to do them all at once. And Graham's very keen to have the other neighbors involved. So, I mean, that'll be part of the, I guess, the work that that staff is going to pull out to find out how that's all going to work or something. It's it will be staff time. There's no question about that. But if it allows Snug Cove House to go ahead, I would highly recommend it. And we'll have to, of course, they're going to have to pick up the funding on it too. Liam, what's your thought on that?
My point is the resolution, is it just going to be for Snug Cove House, or should we be opening it up to say Snug Cove House and the unserviced lots on Fox Club? Because what we just did in that previous motion, the capacity that this 1.6 million is going to create is not going to allow all the Fox Club lots to be serviced.
No, you're correct.
Now we've got to be even-handed and let those other lots join the the septic field that Snug Cove House is going to get.
I agree that they should be involved with this.
So it should say
work.
work with Snug Cove House and the unserviced Fox Club lots.
Yes, I would say that's sensible, but let's see how people
And
feel
prepare
about it.
protective covenant agreements.
Yeah, we're a long way from that, but at least we'll take a look
Well,
at
they're
it.
in the motion.
I see that, but I think that's going to have to come back to council before we get into that sort of thing. I don't know. I think that's a little bit. I think there's a lot to be done before we get into a protective covenant agreement, but that's just my feelings. And Allison?
We need the building permit fairly quickly.
I don't know if they do or not. It's hard to say. And I see Liam, Liam, Maureen, and Sue Ellen.
We did. I did receive additional correspondence from Graham Ritchie on this topic, where he did ask whether he felt it would hinder or help the request if the proposed field would be large enough to accommodate Fox Club lanes that are currently without access to the treatment plant. So it is an idea that Graham himself is also supportive of expanding the size of that proposed septic system.
Yeah, well, it would certainly be beneficial to everybody there. There's no question about that. Thanks, Liam. And Maureen?
The recommendation that we have before us is simply to identify a suitable area for the septic field. And that's what Snug Cove House was looking for, to be able to get that confirmation and to provide that as part of their funding application, so that they would have septic or they would have sewer. I don't think we need to go beyond what is stated in the recommendation at this point. we'll get a sense of whether it's appropriate, to put in the septic, and I'm assuming it will be. And I would imagine that staff would be thinking in terms of, potential capacity there. So why don't we deal with the request that came to us rather than expanding it even further? That's my view at this point.
Okay. Thanks, Maureen. If they're going to be looking for the size of the septic field, though, it would be nice to know if the size of the septic field is going to include those other units. So unless you specify that if available, those other units are going in or something like that, they're not going to be looking for a septic field that's going to involve the other Foxglove properties. That would be my thinking on it, given the direction that's there. Sue Ellen?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm in agreement with Councillor Nicholson. I think the request is here and it reflected in the recommendation, and it's about priorities. Their priority is to get this construction mortgage, and they want to move ahead. They've got so many things in place, and it's urgent. So I think we should, I'm in support of the motion, and I'd be happy to, or the recommendation, I'd be happy to move it as a motion. My feeling is, priority-wise, council's priority has been the supported seniors housing, and that's what Snug Cove House Society is all about. If in the future a septic field comes to be, I would like it to be Snug Cove House's septic field, and maybe they can let other people join up to it if they want, or something like that. But I just want to focus us on the letter that's in front of us. The BC Housing Hub is currently appraising their request for a construction mortgage, and we need to give them some certainty. And I think by moving this motion that's in front of us tonight, that will at least provide some certainty. So I'd like to move the motion that council direct staff to work with Snug Cove House to identify a suitable area for a temporary septic field on a portion of the adjacent community land until such time as there is capacity at Snug Cove wastewater treatment plant, and that council direct staff to prepare a protective covenant agreement.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, thanks, Maureen. We have a second. So Allison, go ahead.
Okay, so I don't have a problem with going ahead with this motion as it's written, but I think we will then need a second motion to direct staff to consider in developing the appropriate size of the septic field. You have to know how many houses and bedrooms it's going to service, that they consider having a large enough septic field so to take into consideration the unserviced lots on Foxglove, because we've just offered to pay for the fixing up of the sewer so that the other lots in Foxglove can hook up. So we've got to treat the other ones equally fairly. So, and we've had a letter request. I mean, we've had a request from those others. So we can draft up a resolution that staff consider in developing the size of the septic field in the area, that the other lots be allowed to join in or something. So, but we can have the standalone motion that will help Snug Cove's House for their.
Okay, I like what you're saying there. Yeah, I would like, obviously this is great and everything, but I would also like to look at the fact that if there's a possibility of getting those other people in on the same septic field.
That's my second motion.
Well, this is what we're talking about. So Rob, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll second that motion of Allison's. I think if there's an opportunity to see if we can get these lots on there now that we're building it, I think it'd be foolish not to take a look at that. I also obviously don't want to hold up the other project. So if we can have those two motions, if that's workable, I don't know what the wording is going to sound like for that motion, but I would support that direction.
Okay, thank you, Rob. Okay, so if there's any further discussion on this motion, then I will ask the question. All in favor? Aye. Now, Rob, are you in? Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Now, Allison, do you have anything sort of made up for this second motion? Or Hope, have you thought about anything?
Something along the lines that
I
council.
do.
Oh,
Okay,
good.
hold on.
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
I don't know. I don't know.
Go for it.
Whereas council has resolved for staff to work with Snug Cove House to identify a suitable area for a temporary septic field. Therefore be resolved that council directs staff to consider an additional area to accommodate the unserviced lots on Foxglove Lane.
Additional
That's pretty simple.
increase in the additional area rather than a separate, yeah.
It said additional area.
Just say additional area. I think that's fine. It can be part of the same unit or it can be a different unit. Okay, thank you.
I'll move that.
I'll
And-
second that.
Just there's some questions here before we carry on. Did you move that, Rob?
I
Yeah,
moved.
but
Rob seconded it.
Allison moved it, I seconded.
Okay, it's first and seconded, and then I'll go to Sue Ellen.
Thank you, Mayor. My question is, how many of the lots on Foxglove Lane? How much capacity are we asking for? And the big question is, will this motion delay the first motion that we just passed, directing staff to help work with Snug Cove House?
I don't think so.
Liam, yeah, just see you shaking your head there.
I don't think it will delay. I think that we'll just need to specify when we engage the qualified professional to say, here's the proposed capacity of the Snug Cove House, and then could it accommodate these additional load from X number of units?
Perfect.
And that wouldn't be difficult for the qualified professional to take into consideration.
Yeah. Okay.
That would be something that we'd also have to discuss with Snug Cove House too, is to be, I don't know that it would cost that much more for the qualified professional to do that. But if there was an additional charge, then perhaps the municipality can provide support for that.
Yeah, and we also, there could be some accumulated cost savings to Snug Cove House if the other people come along also. I'm not
Good
saying
point.
that there will be for sure, but there potentially there could be. So that's not a bad thing either.
Yeah.
Thanks, Liam. Sue Ellen, are you off now?
Well, I'm hesitant to vote for this one until we know more about the first one. I don't want to, I want to focus on the needs of Snug Cove House first. And if there's another request that comes from them, then I would be up for that. I think we need to keep their needs paramount. And so if a request comes from them, that's what I would be interested in supporting. I don't think I'm interested in supporting this one at this time, because I want to focus on the primary objective of Snug Cove House Society's urgent situation. And I don't want to complicate the matter for BC Housing Hub in terms of what is going on. So I just want to be very clear cut to help the Snug Cove House Society. So I won't be moving in motion. I won't be voting in favor at this time. I would like it to come back later, unless somebody can persuade me.
Well, I saw Liam with his hand up again. We'll go to Liam and then Maureen and Allison.
Yeah, Councillor Fast, that's a good concern. And but Graham Ritchie did email the mayor and myself directly to say that that would be something that they would be willing to explore, is an expanded field to accommodate those lots. So it's not something that's being considered in the absence of Snug Cove House. Like that, they're supportive of that.
Okay, thank you. Because it's not because I didn't read it, it didn't sink in. Thank you.
Yeah, yes. No, I and my apologies for not forwarding it. It came in when I was off. And so I haven't got through my
Email.
all of my emails yet.
Okay, Maureen?
I just have a question for Kristen. Kristen, is there anything that you think we're missing here?
I don't, I haven't, there's nothing that's flagged for me, Councillor Nicholson.
Okay, thank you. That's my question.
Okay, thanks, Maureen. And Allison, you had your hand up. Are you out now?
Liam answered my question.
Which one's
Mike.
that?
Liam said what I was going to say.
Oh, I see. Okay, thank you. All right, so I'll ask the question on part 2 there. All in favor? Aye. Okay, and that's it. You got them. Thank you very much, everybody. I think there will be very conscious of the priorities there, Sue Ellen. There's no question about that. I mean, if there isn't enough of a field there, it's you know who's going to get it first there, unfortunately. Well, not unfortunately, but it's unfortunate that they can't get all on in that situation. Anyway, we're going to move on to the 9.2, which is wood fiber LNG request to present at council meeting in May, dated March 14th, 2022. We've all seen the letter. We're just open for a discussion here, and we'll start it out with Kristen.
Thank you. I just wanted to interject following up on the last item.
Okay.
Councillor Morse, you had asked me what meeting that Patrick's report had appeared on with those numbers.
Oh, yeah.
And I looked it up while there was discussion going on. So I can confirm it was on the January 31st special council meeting. That was all.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks.
Okay, thanks, Kristen. Okay, so does anybody, Allison on the wood fiber?
They've asked to come as a delegation. I can't see any reason why we wouldn't accept them. They're presumably we can go back and say we appreciate receiving an update on what the process is. They're going to be operating in Howe Sound, and I know some people have had questions about, you know, that operation, and it would be a chance for us to ask those questions and just clarify anything we want to clarify. And it's regardless of, you know, I think we should be open-minded.
All
So
right.
I would like to move that we request the corporate officer to arrange a suitable time for their meeting time for their delegation. Doesn't have
Okay.
to be the 2 days they've asked for if those are already booked.
No, that's certainly fine. Maureen?
I'd like to second Allison's motion. My first reaction to this letter was quite negative. The last time the LNG roadshow came to Bowen Island was a particularly, from my perspective, unpleasant visit. I spoke with a number of community members, both online and in person, about this requested visit, and the response was basically bring it on. People are interested in hearing what has happened in the, what is it now, 6.5, 7 years since wood fiber spoke with us. So I second the motion.
All
And
right.
I hope that there will be, for the delegation, I hope there actually will be an opportunity for the public to put forward their questions and either ask them or at least have those questions available so that they can be asked by council of the delegation.
That would be a better way to handle that, yes, if it goes forward. Michael?
Yes, thank you very much, Councillor Nicholson. Look, I appreciate the openness on this. My issue has been that it is not for council to filter. I recognize that various entities will have various emotions and pros and cons attached to them. If they are of local importance, if it is a subject that's important to this community, then I think they have the right to be heard. And you know, not the normal filters being in place, that is a respectable, decent, or it's not inflammatory, or it's not anything that we just would not allow. And I think we must be open to listen to all shades of opinion, and we must also be prepared to hear from anyone who has an influence on our direct environment and our local environment. So I'm very glad to hear that there is a tolerance to listen to all parties. And I believe it is not for us to filter. I think it is us to listen and accept for information. And in that way, we conduct our business properly and openly. And it's not for us to act as a gatekeeper if it is of local interest. So thank you very much, those councillors who kind of back this more open-minded and transparent level of thinking. So I'm glad for it. Yes, by all means, let's listen to what they have to say.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Sue Ellen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to be voting against this motion, mostly because we need to spend our limited time at council meetings on significant business for our community and not going over business that we've already made decisions about. I think since February 2015, council has been passing motions of non-support for the LNG. Of that wood fiber LNG proposal. Most recently was May 25th, 2020. This council passed the following resolution: that council directs staff to communicate to the Provincial Environmental Assessment Office that Bowen Island Municipality continues to not support the wood fiber LNG project, unquote. So that's, you know, and I've got different minutes in here, and that's just our support. There's a few other things that have happened since then. In our, now we have a hazards and vulnerability assessment report, and that includes, of the top 8 highest risks, one of them is marine accident. And that's in there partly because of the, as I recall, the idea of LNG industry ships, as well as ferries or any other marine accident. And we've got the ecological changes that we have opposed that could be coming from the plant. Everything from warming the lower water, which maybe that's gone now, I don't remember, but the noise for dolphins and whales and those kinds of things. We have passed a climate declaration and that it's an emergency, and we've got a climate action plan. The parks plan had community input, lots of concern about marine life. All of these are more recent. And then most recently, there's been that IPCC, the International Panel Climate Change. Anyway, code red for humanity. Fossil fuels have to stay in the ground. And I think that's what's consistent with our climate emergency declaration. So I think we should just receive the letter, but tell them we've done lots of work on it, and they don't need to take up our time at a council meeting about it. If they want to come and hold an open house or put an article in the Undercurrent or something, there's lots of other venues. Rather than, I would prefer to take our time dealing with significant topics rather than, and you know, Councillor Kale said, listen to anyone. Well, this is listen to industry, and that's not the same as anyone, I don't think, when it comes to a community and the community's interests. So I won't be voting in favor of that motion. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Sue Ellen. Rob?
Yeah, I get Councillor Fatt's comments. On the flip side is I think it's important that we are in the loop and know what's going on. And even if we don't support this project, I don't see any reason why us not knowing what is happening there is of hindrance. You know, I think we can limit the time that council gives to them so it doesn't take up a lot of space. But I myself don't know what's going on over there. And, you know, as a Bowen resident, I would like to know what's going on. So if I do really oppose a lot of things, I can have a voice and know know what's happening in that spot. So, and I think it's a very slippery and tricky slope to navigate, as Councillor Kale has pointed out, on who do we let speak, who do we not let speak. I think this is a topic that will significantly impact Bowen Island, and I think it's important for us to know what's going on over there. So I'll be supporting the motion.
Okay, thanks, Rob. Yeah, listening to the delegation doesn't mean we support, what they're doing in wood fiber. It's either way or the other. I think we're better off forewarned is forearmed is forearmed. And I think we should know what's going on there. And it would be really interesting, actually, because we haven't heard anything out of there in my mind since COVID started, which was 2 years ago. So I think we'd be better positioned to make a position on it if we knew what was going on there. Did you put up any kind of a recommendation, Hope?
The council directs staff to arrange a delegation from Wind Fiber LNG at a future regular council meeting.
Okay, thank you. I will move that. And Allison, second?
Oh, I moved it, I thought.
Okay, you moved it, I seconded, whatever.
I think
Any further-
Councillor Nicholson seconded it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Boy, oh boy.
It was moved and seconded. We just didn't have the precise wording.
That's exactly right.
We were
Yeah,
waiting
yeah.
for
Um,
Hope.
Any further discussion on this? I'll ask a question. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. And opposition? Okay, thank Councillor Fast in opposition. Thank you. And we'll move on now. The reports committee, commissions, that's Councillors Hawken and Nicholson. So we're going to defer that to a future council meeting because of Councillor Hawkins' absence. And yeah, we'll move right on to new business with the CAO update. Over to Liam Edwards, Chief Financial Officer. Thanks, Liam.
Hang on. Isn't there, I asked for 11.6 BC timber
Haven't
sales.
got there yet.
Yeah, it's way down.
Oh, I
Don't
see.
worry. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong page.
Okay, sorry about that. So I just wanted to follow up with the meeting that Mayor Ander, myself, and several staff had with BC Ambulance Service today, which was quite positive and very productive. So 2 staff came to Bowen today. The director for the North Shore region, which extends actually from the North Shore, includes the Sea to Sky corridor, as well as the whole Sunshine Coast. And another staff as well, who has been on Bowen many times and is has been quite active with Bowen and participating even in some of Bowen's events for ambulance service support, like at the odd Bow Fest here and there, things like that. So they understood Bowen. It was a very good meeting, and it helped clear some of the inaccuracies in the information that we had been provided from the BC Ambulance Service. So some of the reports that we were getting from BC Ambulance Service staff about missed shifts, it wasn't inaccurate, but it was the timing of it was the challenge, because the reports were provided in advance prior to those shifts then being filled. So the good news is that the amount of days that Bowen has been without service or reduced service is far fewer and less than what we had been led to believe. The challenging bit is that we still need to improve communication so that when we get a glimpse of their gaps in their shifts, that we are then informed that those gaps have actually been filled and that those gaps no longer exist. but there still are some gaps and there still are some challenges. The way that the new model of service delivery was explained to us was quite encouraging, and they did identify that they do have a posting for 2 more positions here on Bowen that have yet to be filled. But it does sound actually like pretty encouraging that we may be able to find some local people to fill the positions. And we talked with them about strategies of how to promote those postings. So it's not, to improve their recruitment process. So it's not just done through their normal channels, like putting an ad in the undercurrent and participating with the fire department when they have an open house and things like that. And so it was quite an encouraging meeting. And but I want to be clear that we're not fully staffed and fully serviced yet. But they were abundantly aware and keen to do what they can to try to help rectify the situation. So just wanted to provide that update here.
That's great.
And I don't have any other updates at this time.
Okay, thanks, Liam. Yeah, that was a positive meeting, but we can't drop our guard either. But you know, they've got real big problems they're dealing with too, and I think they're doing the best they can to get through them. But doesn't mean that we're going to ease off them at all. Okay, so the update to Council on Metro Vancouver business, that would be Councillor Hawking, who is not present. We'll move on to the update to Council on Island Trust business. Councillors Kale and Fast, thank you.
Do you want to? I'm happy to go ahead if you like. So.
Go ahead.
Not so much to report. Only, and I'm sure Councillor Fast will report on this as well. We had the team, if I can say it, the team members from Victoria for Islands Trust, and the agency they used. 3 members of those was a team of 5 on island yesterday at a period, quite a long period, extending over lunchtime, and one from 6:30 in the afternoon till 9 o'clock. I think that if there were any lessons, frankly, the attendance was not great. I think we had about 1 person in the evening, and there were people walking by, and probably, I don't know, up to 40 people approximately. I don't have the actual numbers, but I think around that during lunchtime. I think the learning lessons are that for this type of exercise, especially as we're given the fact there's a municipality here, so therefore the trust has on a day-to-day basis has a lower profile than it might do on other islands where there is no municipality. A lot of the survey was completed online. My opinion was, talking to people, because I sent out over 100 reminders to people of the fact that this event was taking place. So it wasn't that people didn't know, the undercurrent covered it. So speaking to Claire and Delaney from Islands Trust, I kind of got the opinion that they were doing better getting reaction online than probably they were on a Sunday here on Bowen. So they probably weren't overall, the 5 people came out here, they made the trip, they stayed overnight, some had to stay 2 nights because, it was quite late by the time we finished on Sunday. It just goes to show how difficult it is to harvest information of this type. If I got any feedback at all, there were definitely some concerns all around on the survey as what I've received. Really nothing majorly conclusive. Obviously people have recorded their concerns on the trust review in writing, and I know they have because they've told me they have. So and we as a council have replied as well. So probably not a great deal to add. It was it was honestly, it was fair to say it was a pretty disappointing turnout, especially in the evening when we thought we might get some more people. Because I got to thank you know, the undercurrent. It was certainly well covered. I mean, people did know. I'm not sure how else you could tell people. It was on all the. It was circulated by both trustees, and there we go. Online, I hope gets more results than we did face to face. I can't add more than that. I'll hand over to Sue Ellen and see whether she wants to add anything to it.
Okay, thanks, Michael. Sue Ellen?
Sure, I'll just add a few points. Thanks, Michael. It was, I was there for the most of the time too, except when I went off to look at heron nests. And I think we got really good input from some people. We had between 30 and 35. I can't remember the exact number, but I asked for a count at some point, and they were counting. So we'll get that in a final report of this outreach input from the consultants that are helping. We had two senior staff, Claire Frater, who we know, and Delaney Hippola, who's the senior policy advisor, the lead on this project. And so they were both there from Islands Trust, as well as the three from the consulting company. And I'd like to thank the people who did drop by to bring their good input. There was some really good conversations that happened there. Not a flood of people clamoring. I heard people saying, it's fine the way it is. And here's some other ideas. And here's what I see when I'm on the water, or here's some questions I've got. But that's just what I was hearing in my conversations, which are not the same people who were speaking to Trustee Kale. And I'd just like to flag with people that there's more opportunities to be involved. There's a part 2 of a workshop coming on Tuesday night, 6 to 8:30. And so that's coming up. And if people want to take part in that, it's available at the Islands Trust website, islandstrust.bc.ca. And there's still you can complete the online survey if people wish to do that. And they can mail you one as well if you prefer to work on a paper copy. And but otherwise, the process is going ahead. They're going to all these different places, and some islands have already given their input. And I think they're getting, we'll find out when the final report comes in. And I also just wanted to mention, I was last week I took part in an executive committee meeting. And I'll just mention that so that people know every month or so I'm in an executive committee meeting, which can also include Bowen Island business. So that's my report. Any questions?
Okay. Thanks, Sue Ellen. Rob's got his hand up there, and Allison. So Rob first.
Yeah, I don't know if Michael or Sue Ellen, if you want to comment on this, but I mean, the last meeting we had with them, there was quite some concern about the online survey, and it was confusing, and there was some concerns about how the information would be interpreted, and they were bulked together. A bit of a low turnout, it sounds like, with this. So, Councillor Fass, you did mention there's another opportunity for involvement for people. I'm just wondering if there will be a bit of an analysis done on the whether there was sufficient public feedback to come up with a good report moving forward, or if there is going to have to be, possibility of looking at another way to solicit feedback, or maybe there was a bit of talk, I think, about potentially twigging another survey. Has there been anything talk about that, or any other ideas around that area?
Sure, happy to answer. This is phase 3 of the public engagement. For Bowen, it started in September 2019, before COVID. And so it's already been going about 3 times longer than was expected. And as more and more people find out about it, partly due to unsolicited mailings coming and things like this, more and more people are getting involved, which is great. We want all that kind of feedback. I'm in regarding your question about the survey, Trust Council approved a process with these with this consulting firm, and or we approved a process. This consulting firm was chosen to help us, and there's that's what's happening now. When they do their report, that will also come to Trust Council. So Michael and I will have a chance to look at that, and perhaps if council's interested, you might want to weigh in on that as well. And but it's like, where does the process end? And when does delay start to happen? Because we're already hearing voices saying, no, you should don't update the trust policy statement with affordable housing, climate change, and reconciliation as the main topics until the next term. Well, this is one of the things that I'm concerned about. I don't want to leave work unfinished that we've started and spent taxpayers' dollars on, and that is important work to do. But yes, the report will talk about what they've heard, and Trust Council will have an option to go for more input if they wish. There's a lot of opportunities that have happened starting back in September 2019 and that continue. And I think, as you've heard from us, there wasn't a lot of interest in people. I was fishing people off the boardwalk to come into the tent. They weren't clamoring to have their input. So I hope that answers your question.
That's true.
Thanks,
that's
Mel.
true. And it's a good question that Councillor Winan asked. Robert, without doubt, lots of the trustees have had similar feedback on this survey. And it's a little bit unusual in some ways that a survey in and of itself would be the bone of contention. I mean, obviously there are issues about the review, the policy review, which, you know, have been singled out. But yes, that is the case. And also I've been in discussion even over last weekend, and it's quite obvious. And whilst there may be a desire to move this policy review forward, it's going to hear the same rushed scenario, whether it likes it or not. And I would think there are going to be many trustees strongly opposed to it being given first reading in this term. As someone who worked on this policy statement in the committee stages, one thing I was able to discuss with Claire Frater was, and she made notes and she'll take it back as, if only we had had longer. It's 20 years old since it last had an update. And we tried to resolve this in a sort of ping pong fashion between Zoom meetings, going back to staff, coming back, going back. And no fault to the individuals concerned. That was a very complicated and unsatisfactory way of doing it. And this survey has not helped. It has muddied the waters somewhat. And I'm sorry it's received. Well, I'm sorry because I think it's a sideshow in a way, the actual structure of the survey. But yes, it's been poorly received overall, judging from the conversations I've had this weekend with other trustees. To answer your question.
Thank you, Michael. Allison?
You're still muted.
I know, I've got to make my finger make the pad work to get the mouse unmuted, and that's a challenge. Daniel spent all day down there on Sunday as well. Just so you know, our staff was there. So at least he had a chance to chat with Claire and the other staff member whose name has gone out of my mind. The other thing I wanted to say is I was in Muni Hall today, there are hard copies of the survey at the Municipal Hall and at the library. I understood from talking to the people that were down there on Sunday. So anyhow, there certainly wasn't a lot. And Daniel said there, I think he thought there were 4 or 5 people showed up on Sunday night, but they had a lot of competition, the Oscars and a soccer game and all sorts of other stuff. So yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
thanks.
that was fantastic that Planner Martin was able to join us, because he could hear all the input as well and also fill in some of the gaps about information in terms of the planning functions and how they may or may not overlap. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so that wraps that up. Let's move on to update the council on Metro Vancouver Regional Parks Committee meetings. Councillor Nicholson, Maureen.
I don't have an update from the Parks Committee. We haven't met since last month,
Okay.
and we will meet. I think it's the 13th or so of April. But just a reminder, everybody, we have Council of Councils on this coming Saturday morning, and for members of the public, this is the meeting where all of the Metro Vancouver mayors and councillors get together. It'll largely be an electronic meeting again, and it's live streamed from the Metro Vancouver website. So if anyone is interested in stepping into the meeting for a little bit, you can do so. The substance of the meeting is generally that the managers and the key elected officials in different areas will make presentations on how things have been going in their service area. So, you know, presentations on housing, presentations on parks, presentations on liquid waste, etc. So it's available, accessible, and this Saturday.
All right, thanks, Maureen. Sue Ellen?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to add that I'll be going, instead of to Council of Councils, I'll be going to the Association of Vancouver Island and Coastal Communities convention. So there I will be able to network with other island communities and people that are ferry dependent. And I'm going to take in the zero waste tour. So I might come back with some ideas. If I do, I'll share them. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to update the council on TransLink's mayor's council meetings. Councillor Allison Morse.
We haven't met since the last meeting, and we're meeting the end of this week. I don't think there's anything of general interest, but you all will have received an invitation, I think, to a session on the new investment plan, the vision. Or is it just me that got?
Not that I can remember.
Okay, I'll follow up on that and find out whether it was supposed to go to all of council or not, because they're starting in on a consultation process on that, which will happen in early April, start in April.
Okay. Thanks, Allison. All right, so back to Sue Ellen with your comments on that.
Sure, this will be brief. This is just BC Timber Sales comment period about spraying herbicides. There's an article in the North Shore News just came out, and the comment period for BC Timber Sales, who you'll remember is the industry group who was going to present us with a plan to log Crown lands on Bowen a few years ago, and ended up not doing that. Thank you, community. The Bowen is included in this 5-year plan of herbicide spraying. I don't know whether they would consider doing any of that here, because there was no map associated with the notice, which is only required to be in print. So it was in the Hope Standard and one other newspaper, and nothing is available online. And anyway, I'm concerned with, people might be concerned with spraying glyphosates and even 2,4-D, as well as another herbicide on Bowen's Crown land, which is also, of course, our water supply in a big way, and where we recreate and all that good things. So the comment period is actually closed March 25th, and but there's a number of people who are asking for an extension, so if it gets extended, I'll keep an eye on it. If it gets extended, I'll bring it back to council. I just wanted to let you know that that's the kind of thing that could happen potentially to our Crown lands. Thanks. And
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks, Sue Ellen. Good info there. And 11.7 is going to be moved to a closed council meeting. And the recommendation is a council move to a closed council meeting immediately following the regular council meeting to discuss items pursuant to section 90, section 1A and C of the community charter. I will move that. Maureen, thank you. And no further discussion. All in favor, aye. All right. And we'll roll right down to question period. Alex, you've been very patient there. Do you have any questions?
Hi, folks. Just two quick ones tonight. The first is just so the apartments and Snug Cove housing are not part of those 116 properties that'll be included, right?
Included in what?
I believe they're going to be included in the phase one. Liam, confirmed?
Sorry, in that they have to pay part of that 718,000. Is that, or are they paying that?
Sorry, that the Snug Cove house.
Not Snug Cove House, the other rental unit, I think, Alex.
The users in Snug Cove.
The users in
paying
Snug
user
Cove.
fees and the apartments are a user. And they will also be paying a parcel tax because they own a piece of property in Snug Cove for the 718,000.
Okay, so they are part of those 116.
Yeah.
Properties. Okay.
Liam still
What 116? Sorry, the
160.
116,000.
Sorry, let me find it. It was
You're talking about the cost attribution to specified areas. The residential users are 117 and the commercial and multifamily are different.
for the estimated annual parcel tax, the
Yeah.
$664. And it's 77,000 divided by 116 properties.
Not getting.
So he just wants confirmation that the Bellringer property is one of those 116 properties, which I believe is correct.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know how many properties there were. I thought there were more than that, but yeah.
Okay, no,
It
that's
definitely is, yeah.
yeah, no, it was just a clarification question.
Okay.
And then just okay, so 8.1 is moving ahead and it doesn't need 7.2 to be resolved just yet, right?
that's correct.
Yes.
So I've got a question for Alex.
Yes.
Did you go to Horseshoe Bay today for Patrick Wheeler's announcement with BC Ferries?
No, I wasn't there.
Oh, okay. So I forgot to look up. I was going to ask you what they had announced, but other than it was something to do with earthquake warning system.
Yeah, I haven't. I hope North Shore News was there, but I'll check with them.
Okay. Thanks.
All right, that's all for me. I'll see you all in person in 2 weeks.
All right. Thanks, Alex. We'll look forward to it.
Thanks a
Take
lot.
care now.
Thanks, Alex.
Good night.
All right. So with that, we will adjourn this council meeting and we have a closed meeting.